It did kind of put on hold my personal aspirations because at that time, my husband's career was taking off.
Zaiba, welcome to the Muslimah Entrepreneur podcast. I'm so happy, so excited.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for having me because I definitely enjoyed your energy when we met at Noor and Zafir. So I feel extremely honored and blessed to be here today.
Listen, same here. Like this event arrived at the perfect time and it opens so many doors to other, like to connect with other Muslims that are crushing it all over the world. It's crazy. I'm like blown away because I feel like we hear so much the negativity. We hear all the BS, instead of like, oh, great Muslims that are doing it, out there and inspiring and, like elevating their communities like you guys are doing. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm not alone. Thank God.
And that's the beautiful thing, right? We're meeting amazing women all over the world that are doing their things and pulling their weight in our communities. And the reality of the situation is we're kind of leading the way. And so I like to even be a part of that group and demographic is an extreme blessing.
Yeah, it's like we're creating the modern, like, Muslim Renaissance history. And we can and we are documenting it hard. Like there's
Yes.
it's not going to be hidden somewhere.
No.
So this is so exciting. So I'm part of history, and I've always known my purpose for a while. So now I'm like, I've attained this maturity to say, okay, let's do it. Let's go
Let's
all in
do
and
it.
let's do it. So
Yes.
so the Muslimah Entrepreneur podcast is like an inspiration, a motivation, also sharing, tools, strategies for other Muslim women because, the entrepreneurial world is like mainly white men. That's the
Yes.
majority. And then you're a woman, you're part of the minority. And then you're a Muslim woman, like you're like a smaller portion of the minority.
Mm-hmm.
And some point, my mentors are all white men and they're great entrepreneurs. That's amazing. I'm learning so much, but it's limiting because I'm like, well, okay, on a business level, I learn a lot, but you're not a woman and you're not a Muslim woman. And, I'm having challenges that you don't have. So not having examples, I felt like something was missing. So meeting you guys and just, being able to share that to other Muslim women, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, there are other Muslim women that are doing it. Let me, be courageous and do it. So that's why, that's the goal of this podcast, sharing all of that. And I know that you're also a podcaster and you're going to let us know in a minute. So please introduce yourself. Tell us, who is Zaiba?
Oh my goodness. I mean, what am I not right now is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling kind of pulled in so many different directions. My name is Zaiba Hasan. I am one of the co-hosts of the podcast, Mommy Well Muslim. My claim to fame is I am the mother of four other Z babies. They are 17, almost 18, 15, 10, and 8. And they are literally the reason why I do everything that I do, for good and for bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Who am I? I am still searching.
Yeah.
As we are, I'm trying to learn and grow and figure out who I am at each evolutionary process because my goal is to not stop growing. And I feel like that's the number one key thing that women need to know, that you don't have to know who you are at 40 some years. You are always in an evolutionary process and you should enjoy the journey because that's part of it.
I love what you said because we're missing the point that every day we're changing. Every time that you meet someone, every time that you learn something, your biology is changing and you can't stop that all the time. And it's true, it's a process. So how to be present. And I know that you're studying mindfulness and, taking this path. And I was so blessed with my coaching certification to be, learning that so much because it's the foundation for them, for the Human Potential Institute. And I'm like, oh, thank God, my intuition was right. It's a great path. So this helped me also grow my spiritual self because I think like you are, I'm a spiritual person. I've always been that. So nurturing, Sufism, these are like what calling me. So I love that you're studying that. So let us know, because you're so busy, you have the podcast. Okay. Give me a snapshot of what happened in your career and why you decided to study, all these, new things.
Right. So the reality of the situation is I was an event planner by trade, and I just kind of Forrest Gumped my way into it from college. I had to pay for my own school. So part of the way for me to pay for that schooling was I was an event planner for the MBA department at my university. And as a result of that, I was able to come out without any debt. And I was married at the time. I got married I was 20. I was in college. So part of the reason why I kind of had to go on my own was my parents were kind of like, sorry, sucker, you decided to get married this early and we are just going to cut you off. And I fear that at the time they were hoping, right, that I would alter and change my path, but I kind of called their bluff and I kind of packed up my stuff and I'm like, okay, this is the path that I'm supposed to go on. We have since come to terms on our own journey, right? But it was very rocky for a period of time because I was blessed to have met the love of my life since at 18. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't want it. To be very blunt, I was one of those that I was like, no, not happening. But what do you do when you happen to find that person? Alhamdulillah, we're going to be together. We're going to be married for 23 years this year. But it wasn't necessarily something that my parents approved of at the time. They love him now. Everything is good. Fast forward. But what it did do is kind of put me in a situation. It was kind of like a mixed blessing. It was like, instead of being this sheltered person, I had to work 40 hours a week. I had to go to school full time. I was doing driving home, taking care of my husband and my new house, my new family, and writing papers and going, doing all of those things. So the concept of multitasking and those types of things were instilled in me very early, because out of necessity, not out of want. So because of that, I had the experience. I got an amazing job. And I put my master's on the side at the time because I wanted to make money. Having somebody, being in a situation where you weren't being supported financially by your parents at an early age, you were in a young marriage with student loan debt from my husband's side, you have earning potential, but at the time we were poor. Let's just be real. And so when somebody came and offered me this amazing event job, I was like, okay, I can put my master's on the side for a little bit, go ahead, take this job, save up money, all of that. What started me on my journey is one day I had a sinus infection. So went on antibiotics and didn't find out till 10 weeks later, I was pregnant with my son. Right before I was supposed to start my master's. Because nobody tells me that birth control negates the antibiotics negate birth control.
Oh, I didn't know that too. Okay.
Yes.
So ladies,
so we can write that down.
Information.
Learn.
Yeah.
Yes. And so as a result of that, I was pregnant, and we were married for 4 years, so it wasn't something that we didn't plan on. He knows the story, so I'm not telling anybody to, but it was definitely a blessing because I don't know if we would have done it at the time, and it did kind of put on hold my personal aspirations, because at that time my husband's career was taking off, and because I was a new mom, we didn't have the family support because we moved to the DC area. I kind of took my stuff and put it in the back burner while being a full-time mom, which I loved and enjoyed at the time. After the birth of my second, I decided to start my own business in event planning, and was planning conferences and all that stuff. And I was doing that until August of 2 years ago. And as I was at an event, I was like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm a big believer in signs. And at the time, all the signs were pointing for me to stop and to go back to school. And this was, of course, pre-pandemic. And I was like, you know what? If I'm not going to do it now, it's just never going to happen. And now is my turn. Went ahead and applied, and I'm doing a certification in parent coaching as well. But part of my love and my passion was getting in connection to my spirituality and my religion. And looking for that path, I found the University of Sufism, and everything that was said was like, I need this in my life. whether or not I use anything, whether or not, but it was essentially cutting down your ego, right? To get to a different place of spirituality so that you can be open and perceptive to the things that are around you. Does that help my parenting? Yes. Does that help my relationships all across the board, my parents, my everything? And on my journey to heal myself was what actually led me to this particular path. And in healing myself, I feel like I've been given a gift to potentially heal and help other people. So that's kind of my long-winded way of saying, I think this is the path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually wants me to be on, because everything, as a door closes, a window opens. As a window opens, then you're in a hallway. You know what I'm saying? When you read the signs, you're like, okay, he keeps directing me here, what I'm going to do with this. He knows I do not, but I'll be open and ready for when that time comes.
I love it. Can we pause and enjoy the strength of a woman? like and we're the stronger, part.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And
100%.
we don't say it enough, and we don't share it enough. So that's why I want to just enjoy it. Yes. That's a huge, you had like many lives, like we say. This is crazy. I love it. Driven, growth oriented, super mom. And you're like, I'm doing that by myself. Like, I'm blessed because I'm by myself. And I'm like, okay, I can focus on I know I don't have to be selfish. I don't have to. But you're doing it with your like 4 children. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, so that's crazy. Love it. University of Sufism, you're continuing, and you had it your business. That's amazing also. So that's going to be great for, sharing on this podcast. And also, the like mummying while Muslims. And it's too much. I love it. So you're an overachiever. You're an overachiever.
No, I don't think so. It's so funny because I think a lot of people think that, but this is the truth of it, Fatima. Like, when you have, and you probably feel this too, when you find your passion, when you find something that enriches, engages you, energizes you, it doesn't feel like work. So you don't feel like an overachiever. You're feeling like, this is my mission. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it doesn't feel hard. Like,
it doesn't. I completely agree.
The puzzle pieces fit together,
100%. Yeah. Compared to the average, person, I'm always, when I say that, I compare that. Like, for me too, I'm doing this all day, like every day. I have like no vacation because it's my purpose. It's not work. I'm not forced to do it. So I completely, agree and understand you for sure. But compared to the average person, I think if we had people, like more people like us, without bragging, of course, it's not for everybody. It's not for exactly. It's not for everybody, but it's like, okay, we're not satisfied by the status quo. We're not satisfied with the level. And when I think about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and just, you see the creation around us, it's all about expansion. It never stops. As human being, we limit ourselves so easily. And I'm the first also to do it. Even if I'm a mindset coach, whatever, I still have my weaknesses. But I love that you shared that. And it's a great inspiration. It's like, you're a mom. It's not an excuse, to not go back to your studies, because there are other moms that are doing it and they're successful at it. So it's all like for inspiration. Okay. And it's possible, just to say, well, it's possible. Do it too if you want. Don't limit yourself.
Yeah.
In all of that, I'm interested to know, like, this is the first question usually, like, give me your top 3 challenges that you had, being a Muslim businesswoman, in addition to, what happened with your family, which pushed you, out there and like, okay, this is it. There is no plan B.
Yeah, no, that's the truth of it. The first of all, it did come from that. Like, I had no option, right? I had no choice. It was either kind of go down this rabbit hole of feeling upset or, depressed, but I just knew from a very early age. And I think those of us that, to your said, you're saying that you feel driven to a degree, you feel that from an early age. You feel like, I don't fit in, right? Like, until you find your purpose or your passion, or you don't fill in. And at the birth of my son was the first time I felt I belonged, right? I happen to be a biracial Muslim American. My mom was a convert, Irish descent. So it's St. Patrick's Day today for us half Irish folks. And so it was just one of those things where I never really fit in a world, whether it was full Pakistani or full. And so I always had to find my niche. And in finding my niche, the challenges that came were, of course, the microaggressions, the not being able to fit in, getting flack from both sides. I was never white enough, Caucasian enough, white enough for the white people. I was never Desi enough for the Desi people. And Desi is a term that for Indo-Pak people. So nobody really knew what to do with me. So you're having to fight that from the very beginning, trying to establish an identity and being comfortable with your identity that I don't fit in any world, but being Muslim, being spiritually Muslim as well, because you can be Muslim, but not have a spirituality. Let's be honest about that. Like to pray and actually feel the prayers and feel like it transforms you and sets you up and moves you forward is a very different feelings than just going through the motions, right? And trying to find, and then getting the flack from the Muslim community, right? Because I don't wear hijab. So that has been a challenge and a struggle, but I'm like, yeah, I don't wear hijab, but I'm very well read and I'm very practicing and I'm very, and it's so funny because, Uzma and I, you had her on before and she is a traditional hijabi covered. And it's funny because like our personalities are totally different. She's always like, Zaiba loves everybody. I don't like it. She's a very, and having to fight the stereotype that because I don't wear hijab, that I'm less than somebody that does, even though I try to live my life as Islamically as possible. So that's been a very big challenge because of course you're getting that, those micro and macro aggressions, I would have to say, from members of both sides. And so I've had to deal with that and dealing with the challenges of, being a mom, right? And wanting to be the mom that I want to be. And I love my mother, but I always prided myself in trying to be the mother that I didn't have growing up. And that was my biggest challenge, having to learn and grow and become this person when I didn't necessarily have an example set before me, and recognizing that it still is so everything that I do, being a Muslim business owner, is to show my daughter that you can do it and you don't need anybody to support you. Paving the way for other Muslim women, that's very big for me, to kind of fight some of that stereotypes themselves. And if I can be an ally, let me do that. And to create this interfaith dialogue, because I do know both sides and that I am a good mediator between the two, and embracing the gifts that we have. I think that helps people go a long way in being successful.
100%. So you shared, your ethnicity being a challenge, being a biracial, woman, and being in between, like two religion, two different ethnicities, the challenges, in regards to your own spirituality and, having to justify yourself. And I just want to say, like, religion is something personal, and I can't believe how superficial we have became to judge so easily on the first thing, that is, your appearance, like how you look, right? Oh, you're just, defining someone by their appearance, which is, no, spirituality is within, it's not outside, but it's something that you have to fight for. And as a woman, as a Muslim woman, of course, you're seen. And with all the drama, with all the media, like brainwashing for the past 2 decades, it didn't help. So I understand, I completely understand that. And then you're like, I'm a mom and I want to be a super mom, and nobody gives us like the perfect.
I don't know about being a super mom, but I do enjoy my kids. I'm one of those weird people that I like them. Like, they're cool people. I like to be around them. So it's not that, I'm a super mom. It's more of, I want to be a part of their life, right?
But you're doing the work. What I call a super mom.
I have to do the work. Yeah.
It's not like, I gave birth to you, so I own you, and you just, like that's the thing that unfortunately in our cultures, and even if my mom was super educated and all of that, she is like that. And in addition to that, she's the oldest in her family, and she took care of her family, so she's like, the queen. So me daring to say something to her is like, oh no 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 no. But I completely understand. Don't do that. It's like, don't go there. But it's amazing. I think, we're just, first of all, it's very difficult to accept, compliments. Like,
and
we're
I think
humble
as
people.
women, we're always like, no, because you're perceived as doing it. No, I'm a really good mom. Okay. I'm a really good time manager. But it's because I work at it. It's something that I prioritize. I work at it. And I work really hard to accomplish it. So I'm not minimizing all of that, but I always say, like my journey as a mom is still being written, right? I'm in the middle of that story, and may God protect the kids. I can only do the best with what I have to offer them today. And some days that's good. And some days it's not so good. Some days I'm like, go watch TV. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm hiding under the blanket. You want to cuddle? Cool. But sometimes I'm done. I'm checked out. So all moms need to understand that every day is a new opportunity to be able to put your right foot forward.
And please, can you plug in the podcast for all the moms, because you're doing a great job right now.
So funny. No, we are a Muslim podcast, though it's called Momming While Muslim. And part of what our story is to kind of elevate and empower the voices of everyday American Muslim mothers. Coincidentally, our audience is non-Muslim people. So that's a blessing for us. Like we call it our accidental audience. We didn't know that would be the case, but from what our understanding is, a lot of people are curious, are interested, and through the commonality on this journey that we call mommying, they can see that we're more alike than different. And from my perspective, and this is where the Sufi perspective comes. If you take away the ego, take away the misunderstanding, take away all of that, we're more alike than different. And even in our differences, we can find blessings because we can learn from one another. And we happen to do that through through being a mother, during our momming journey. And our hopes is that we can continue to provide a platform for other American Muslim moms to share their stories.
So on the podcasting platform, I can't speak anymore. It's too late now.
Yeah. We're everywhere. We're on Alexa. We're on Audible. We're in your. So that's the blessing. That's my partner. She's putting us out there. I love her to death. But yeah, we are on pretty much. We're on your phone. We're in your house. We're on your TV. So find us.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. Eerily enough.
I love it. So like you shared with us your challenges, and you seem to do fine right now. See, what were your strategies? Like, how did you overcome these challenges? Are you still working on them? This is where you just share your solutions and what you've been through, and it can offer a new perspective. It worked for you, it might not work for me or like for a listener, but still, try it out and see it for yourself.
Right. No. So the first and foremost thing, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about this, is there were a lot of starts, but I didn't finish. A lot of starts and I didn't finish. And I kept trying to understand, like, where is this coming from? And I realized, because of my background, because of the things that happened to me, I was carrying the burden of insecurity, which I think a lot of women have to deal with, separate and apart from, regardless of what their childhood was. I did not necessarily have the easiest childhood. So I was carrying that. I happened to be a mother early. I happened to get married early. So I was very unsure of my place in the world. So the number one thing that I had to do in order to embrace who I am now is to go to therapy. And I'm fully opening up. I'm opening myself, and I've talked about it on the podcast, because I had to go through layers and layers and layers of self-doubt, self-deprecation, trying to, so on my outward, I'd be like, oh, but my inside was not as positive and optimistic. And I needed to get myself into a mentally healthy place so that I can push myself forward. And that is, by the way, still a work in progress. So I want to say that is something that's a work in progress. But because of that, I've gained the credibility, like I've gained the confidence to be able to be like, okay, yeah, I'm not an expert in all things, but I'm an expert in me, and this is what I'm going to do. So setting the tone for yourself, I think, is very important. Putting in place strategies. Like for me, it's scheduling, time boxing. These are more practical things that I'm sure your listeners are going to want to know. I put down my calendar every Sunday, go through, update it. It helps, dump all that out.
Put it on paper.
You have to put it on paper. And it's funny because when I have and we're all creative people on some level. So when I have a great idea, I have a pen and paper next to my bed, write it down so I don't forget it. Granted, sometimes in the morning you wake up, you're like, that's not that great of an idea, but it was good enough to write down at the time. Yeah. And being able to do that. So being aware and understanding, be okay with maybe that idea is not the best idea, but you know what, you put it down. And not being afraid to put yourself out there. Like you mentioned, women don't like to do that. But guess what? If we didn't reach out to you guys or whatever, we would not have had this conversation today.
100%, yeah.
And so not being afraid to reach out. What is the worst that can happen? Someone's like, no, not right now, maybe later. Mm-hmm. Or perhaps I can and you'd be surprised by everyone's like, what is your guys' success? Is we're asking for it. We're asking for it. Yeah. And being able to ask for it and deliver, I think, is very important. And honestly, opening yourself to situations that you cannot control, like ours was the accidental audience for our particular podcast. Was that something that we decided we wanted to do in the beginning? No, but we were like, we're going to be flexible, we're going to embrace it, and we're going to reach across. And then guess what? That has opened up a whole nother allyship for us that we didn't even thinking about it. So being flexible, I think it's very important as well.
Yeah, I just love that. Take notes, please. Re-listen to that part, because a ton of great strategies that you can use. And I always say, don't overwhelm yourself, because we don't need extra information. There are so much, but take one and implement it in your life. Experiment with it and see if it works. Taking action is so important. Exactly. It's so important. And I love that you're also doing, coaching. So you're gonna, go through all of that, and you will have tons of new skills that you can share with people. And I can't wait for you to do that. And for the longest time, I think in 2019 and 2020, my favorite quote was, opportunities don't happen, you create them.
Yes.
So that's yourself putting yourself out there, not necessarily on video like we do, or, I know Muslim business women that they don't want to be on video, and that's fine, but they still use their voice, or they can use, someone else, but they still deliver their message. We got to be louder than the naysayers more than ever. Yes. If you're an expert, if you're someone smart, a good Muslim, a great person for the communities, you gotta be louder. And if you can't, just support the other that are doing it.
Support other people. Exactly.
I love that. So Zaiba, coming to an end of our conversation, this is the lesson learned question. If you had the opportunity to go back to the Zaiba of 20 years old, what would be one advice that you would give her?
I don't know if I would give her advice, because I feel like I am who I am today because of every single thing that I had to go through. But what I would give her is encouragement that I'm going to cry. I always cry at these things. So this is a good question. Ask Uzma. I cry in every single freaking episode. That's my problem. That's what I'm like, I need to invest in waterproof mascara. But I would tell her that she is enough. She's enough for exactly who she is, but that going through the journey will get her to where she has to be, right? This is where I feel like I have to be, and all the things that got me here is what I needed to go through to get me to where I am today.
Your enough is so important. And it's especially for us women. And I think, the society is also part of that. The programming that we're having surrounding by these advertisement of this perfect person that you need to look like this to be beautiful or to be successful. You got to be, ticking all these boxes. Well, actually, no, I'm just going to be me. And that's great, because the moment when you realize that, you're like, first of all, you're lighter, and then nothing can stop you, because the moment you have this foundation, and that's why I'm focusing so much on the mindset with my clients and empowerment. If you have that, nobody can take it from you. The rest you can learn. The rest you can learn
100%.
But the inner belief and the empowerment that is within, oh my gosh, it will take you so far you can't imagine. So just igniting that, and of course nurturing it, because we're human beings and we have hormonal cycles, and life happens. Life happens.
Why am I in such a bad mood today? Yes. Oh, it's that time. Okay, I understand. Yeah,
that's normal. That's normal. It's not me. It's not me. It's my body. So
it's my body. My body's telling me to yell at you today.
Just go with it. Okay. I love it. And that's it. And you got to acknowledge this. We're not robot. We're like, 365 days. We're not the same. Don't expect to be the same. Don't expect to be perfect. We're not here to be perfect. So what can I do best with what I have and who I am? And always improving myself. And this is why, I found you and Usman, all the other amazing, people from Noor and Zafir and out there that I'm just discovering every day. They're just, doing their best. We're don't try to fake it, or just be you. That's the best that you can do.
Be authentic. And that means if that means there's dishes in the sink so that I can get something done, cool. If that means my kids are watching a little bit of extra TV today so we can do, that's fine. Allowing yourself the opportunity of forgiveness to handle each day as it comes, I think is going to be very, very, especially because we're in a pandemic, we keep forgetting that. So giving yourself the option to, be you.
Just be you and be in the present. And I love that, Sufism, and I did mindfulness first. I was, learned about Sufism, and I know that they were already in the meditation and the spiritual side of Islam. And just being in the present, it's so hard to do because we did the opposite for the longest. But when you learn that, and when you try to work, not try, I don't like the word try. When you work at it, every day, there are going to be, hit and misses, but you're doing it. So the more you practice, the more it's going to become a habit. And it's so powerful, because the moment you live in the present, you have so much less stress, and anxiety that comes because you're just living in the present. You don't care about what happened.
You're like, what can I do? What can I do? I can't take yesterday's things and today, and every day is an opportunity. And that's what I tell my kids. Let's leave yesterday. Today is today. So let's focus on today and move forward. And honestly, even getting your kids into meditation and spirituality, even if it's 5 minutes a day, goes a long way in helping their mental health as well.
Super powerful. Last question. Is there any question you wanted me to ask you that I haven't?
You're so good. You've asked me everything, including almost making me cry. So let me ask you a question, because this is what I'm used to.
Are you reverse engineering my podcast?
I'm reverse engineering. So when you started this platform to help, empower Muslim women, what was your accidental audience as a result of that?
White men.
Oh, yeah. So what does this girl have to say about business?
what is happening here? So I'm one of these women that attract masculine and feminine energy on the, let's say on an equal level. But because I've been so much in this masculine environment, and one of my, blessing, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is I adapt so super quickly. I fit in everywhere, it's so I talk with you on an equal footing, and I accept you as who you are 100%. I don't judge. This is not me. So, and for the longest of time, white men were the people that were reaching out for coaching, and I was like, okay, well, it's fine. It's the coaching.
You're I can do this. Let's go.
Exactly. So that was my accidental, audience. And I love it because, humanity, we're like, we come from the same parents.
Right.
It's just
Exactly.
that we're all here for each other, and they, with the energy and all of that, it reaches everybody. So it's trying to not limit ourselves, but I decided to cater to Muslim business women because we always had the short end of the stick.
Yes.
And nobody was like, I'm just going to go for you girls and helping you and support you, instead of like judging you because you're not wearing the hijab, or like, or you're doing this, and like, you're not Muslim enough, or I don't know what.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? Let me give my strength. But if I have other opportunities that come my way, of course my door is open. I'm not going to close. Yeah. Exactly. So this is my end.
I love it.
So Zaiba, thank you so much. PR time, where can people find you, and you personally, or the podcast, whatever you want to share, this is your time.
You're so sweet. It's funny because I had to actually pull down my personal stuff because now I have teenage kids who didn't want any of our stuff on a public forum. So I had to respect and honor that, because like they said, we are our own people. So, but you can find us publicly at Mommy Well Muslim on Facebook, and Mommy Well Muslim podcast on IG. And stay tuned. Emerge Parenting is going to be coming within a few months. We're still in the podcast is my baby, so I'm still trying to make her exactly where I feel like she needs to be, and then I'll start focusing on Emerge Parenting, which will be parent coaching from the heart.
Oh, okay. So that's your coaching business then.
That's my
so you have to come back for that, because this is again so important, right? That's a life-changing topic, and I can use that. I'm taking lessons, I'm taking notes, to prepare as much as possible. I will. And all the ladies that are listening to, please do. Okay, this is so important. So I want to thank you. This Zaiba, this has been amazing. You have to come back. I always say it live, so you have to. I'm gonna chase you to the DC area.
Live. I'm coming back.
So yes, thank you so much for sharing your story, your perspective, and I would love to have you back, to speak business, because you've been, a business owner for a long time, and you're starting a new journey. So I think that will be super interesting and valuable to hear that side of you. And I want to thank you again. Take care of yourself. Have a lovely day in the US, and
day for us, like evening for you.
It's you see my lightning is starting to fade out. I'm like,
you're like, it's starting to go down. You have a good night, Fatima. It was such a pleasure to actually meet with you one-on-one, and I look forward to your journey and listening to your journey.
Thank you so much, Amin. Thank you.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.